All right, we're going to take a look at what I've done so far with the square foot gardening. There's a couple of problems, and I'm going to show those to you, and we're going to try to fix them. But what you see so far is I've planted plenty of things. I've got a lot of seeds that haven't come up yet. We have had a terrible, terrible time with weather. Shortly after I planted a lot of the garden, we had a cold snap, and we actually had like a frost warning one morning. So I think that is a problem with some of my seeds germinating. Still kind of waiting on some, but we'll take a look and see how that's going. And I also have a couple of other problems I wanted to show you. Okay, so over here in the far bed, we've got some delicious, that's the name, delicious tomatoes. And then we've got some peppers, both bell pepper and jalapeno. And then we've got some cabbage. But look at my onion starts. They're looking pretty bad. I think the heat wave that we had and are still having is having a huge effect on those. It was in the 90s and even the upper 90s for a day or so this last week. We're sort of getting a little bit of a reprieve. We had like 82 yesterday, and we're going to be having 85 today, but then we're going to get back up into the 90s. So I think that has caused some big issues with my onions. Also, I planted lettuce in these two squares. You see it's coming up a little bit, but nothing like I would have expected, because I would expect lettuce to grow a lot faster than that. So that's another problem. Today I'm going to do some mulching around the tomatoes and the peppers and the cabbage, and we'll see if we can retain some moisture in the ground in the upcoming 90-degree weather we're going to have. In this bed, see, we've got a lot of purslane growing up in there that I'm going to have to pull up, but the mulch should actually take care of that as well. In this square and the one next to it, and maybe even the one next to that, I planted some beet seeds, and there's not a lot of growth going on there. Over here we've got oregano, which you can see is coming up. It's just going to be slow. I don't want to mulch in these squares until I see what all's coming up and what's not. Might have to change my plan. But you see we have a number of both red and golden acre cabbages. Over here you see potatoes, Yukon Gold and Kennebec, white potatoes. Next to it was supposed to be carrots, but once again, I got nothing. So I don't know what's going on with that. I can't seem to ever grow carrots. I don't know if I'm planting them at the wrong time. You know, I'm planting them shallow. I'm just lightly covering them, keeping them moist while they germinate, but I got nothing. So I might have to figure out something else to grow there. These two smaller beds in the middle haven't gotten planted yet, and I don't know if they will or not. The weather wasn't cooperating when I had time to plant them, but working full time is kind of working against me where the garden is concerned. This is my pot of volunteer onions, which I might actually take out of there and plant in the garden. I had some volunteer onions come up that I noticed this spring in the garden, so I pulled them out and I put them in this pot. Also noticed we got a lot of lamb's quarter growing everywhere. And while lamb's quarter is an edible, it's something you can eat, it's pretty invasive. I've got it, it's coming up all over in my beds. And I'm having to pull it out. But again, the mulch should help take care of that once I get the mulch down. Over here, these 3 squares on the end were supposed to be basil, but it did not come up. I planted some borage. There's a borage right there. At least I got that going for me. I still have some squares left to plant. I'm planting some marigolds and things like that. These tomatoes look pretty good. Those are beefsteak tomatoes. And then I've got a row of paste and Roma tomatoes. I'm having a problem with my string that I was using to kind of keep these tomatoes up. Number one, last night I came out here to water and I noticed this guy. I was using this string, and it's just a cotton string. But I noticed that due to wind and things, this actually severed one of my tomato branches on this plant. Let's go around to the other side because I want to show you something else. These Roma tomato plants are in need of tying up because they're actually this big and they're just laying over. So they're starting to vine. Again, I was using the cotton string. I'm going to use some green, softer green tie wire for a garden and redo the Florida weave, and I'll show you how that's done. But over here we've got green beans. Those are coming up nicely. And then here we've got cucumbers. Those are coming up nicely as well. So this bed, I think, is ready to do some mulching as well. Not all of it, but some of it. So let's get at that Florida weave. I'll show you how that's done. So to do the Florida weave, I've got some holes here that I'm going to utilize. The idea with the Florida weave is to go around one plant one way and the other plant the other way, kind of like a figure 8, but now they're so vined that I kind of have to find this one, for example. Go around that way and then this way. It's kind of hard when they're bigger because they are vining. So you sort of figure 8 it. Yeah, this one's going to have to be this way. Once I get to the end, I'll pull it tight. Essentially what you're doing is you're trying to give them a trellis to vine on that's not a cage. It's kind of hard to be careful right now. You see this one is already showing damage. We had a lot of wind yesterday. We'll see if we can keep him up though. So I'm going the opposite way, weaving the opposite way as the last time. So now you can see they are up off of the ground, away from where they might get some mold, mildew, bacteria. And after a little more growth, I am going to trim some of the bottom branches off. I want them producing tomatoes, so they don't need to be putting energy into their bottom branches. And as they grow taller, you just add another figure 8 wire around them, and it keeps them up off the ground, vining and growing for more tomatoes.